Yes, I can see earthquakes and volcanoes, but I see more water, storms, and wind. So that I felt it's the most pressing issue. Lately, I keep hearing water, water, water. So we're talking about a lot of floods, a lot of storms, a lot of hurricanes. So this new era, we must realize that yes, it will come because of the cycle of life, but we should be aware that not everything will be perfect in this new era. We will just move from the lesson we learned in this era and live in the new era. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be in this channel. A pleasure to be part of this community of guides and being on this channel. My name is Nate. I am a psychic medium. I've always felt very connected from a very young age. Very early on, up in my childhood, I was already reading the cards, using the playing cards, and I had a series of experiences at a spiritual level that allowed me to get via my sixth sense, my third eye, visions, information into the future. And I've been developing different skills along the way, whether they're reading tarot, reading Lenormand, reading the playing cards, channeling directly, no tools, getting more and more information from spirits in order to help people along the way. I have been a professional psychic for the last 5 years. That's all I do. And I'm delighted to also be on YouTube to share my visions, to share my forecasts, my predictions, and to help people understand the world that we live in. You're saying that a lot of people feel that the world is in chaos. But think about it. Look back in history. So many wars, so many illnesses, so many issues in the world, earthquakes, disasters. What we are facing now, is that really new? It's not. So we have to really remember that maybe we had a little bit of quiet time before the pandemic, but really the world always has been in chaos. When was the last time when the world was completely at peace? Never. So we have to remember that. And also realizing that what we're facing is a continuation of a world transforming, evolving, connecting into another cycle. And there are cycles within the bigger cycle. And so we have to take a perspective of where we are within that cycle and understand that the qualities that are requested of us, of resilience, of endurance, of unity, of positivity, of surrender, are always been there, always the same. You can read books from philosophers from the ancient Greece or from the Renaissance. At the end of the day, all those philosophies, all those spiritual thinking are still valid today. You can pull any spiritual book. It doesn't matter of when it was written. Those messages still apply today. Why? Because we've always been living in the same world. The only thing that has evolved is the technology. The main reason why spirituality or religion is returning is because we have lived in a world that was too materialistic. It has been a world with a lot of uh, consumption, a lot of material needs, and people are starting to want something that elevates and resonates more. It's exactly like those cycles. When it's too much of one thing, we go to the other thing. Material world, spiritual world, those are not to be against one another, they coexist, but one is becoming too much, the other world comes back. In this case, we are too materialistic in our lives. It's about money, which, by the way, we discussed earlier, is more of a spirit. It's a number, but it only gets you things, products and services. The spiritual is really what elevates you. When we got to this world of intense pressure, materialistic world, we are then pushed towards spirituality, emotions, creativity, communication, music, nature, things that are not material in nature, but they're more spiritual or emotional. The natural disaster that I see lately, I keep hearing water, water, water. So we're talking about a lot of floods, a lot of storms, a lot of hurricanes. And I see struggles for a lot. I don't know. It feels to me like it's very focused on islands, getting storms, tsunamis. And yes, I can see earthquakes and volcanoes, but I see more water, storms, and wind. So that I felt it's the most pressing issue on some islands, anything that is an island. So the global economy is facing debt, but is also facing inflation, meaning the prices are going up, and we have, as a collective, to borrow more money that we don't have. Actually, money doesn't really exist. Money. It is a spirit. It is an energy. Money is a number. When you have money in a bank account, it's electronic. It's a number. It means something, but it only means something with what it can get you. Money by itself is nothing. And so you have to understand that foundation is based on what seems to be something which is a very solid foundation, but this is a castle of cards. It's numbers. It's a bunch of numbers that we trade. It's actually not as solid as one might think. There will be a realization that this is actually a whole castle of cards. You have seen in the past with inflation, money had to be reevaluated, reindexed. You have the implication of cryptocurrency. You have also the implication of gold and silver, with starting to the value of gold and silver to go up and up. You can see how everything is in flux because we're really reaching a world where there's a realignment with true values. And so sooner or later, we will have to see currencies and an alignment between currencies and values of things being in disconnect. And at some point, there will be a big reset. So that's going to be one of the biggest shakeup in the world. We will get out of this era because a point that I will make in a little bit is that everything in life is a transformation. Everything in life is temporary. There is not one thing in life that is permanent. Everything is temporary, absolutely everything. And so this era, by definition, is temporary because everything is temporary. And we have to understand, I would like to show you a card from the tarot to understand this. This is the Wheel of Fortune. You see, the Wheel of Fortune is a wheel. But what you see here is everything that is on top will come down. Everything that is down will come up. It's the cycle of life. Everything is moving through. So we will, because that really reflects that everything is temporary. When you're not feeling well, this is temporary because you will feel better. When you're feeling fantastic, well, that's very good, but that's also a moment where you have to prepare for lessons to be learned. The same way the planets Jupiter, Saturn evolve. So this new era, we must realize that yes, it will come because of the cycle of life, but we should be aware that not everything will be perfect in this new era. We will just move from the lesson we learned in this era and live in the new era. And realize probably with this new era that we need to have more solidarity and unity between us. If you take, for example, one of the biggest challenge in front of us, the global warming, this is gonna force us to help each other a lot more because we're all gonna face consequences and we're gonna have to find ways to live all together. Think about it from a very concrete standpoint. Because of the global warming, areas of the world that have disasters, storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, etc., etc. Insurance companies are raising their costs and their premium because they have to help people with those disasters. But who pays for these insurance companies? All of us. So even economically, we are all tied. So that is very important to understand. In this new era, it will be very visible that we are one, the law of one. When someone opens their third eye, they are allowing the intuition, the information coming from their guides or from spirits to come through them in different ways. We talk about the clairs, clairaudience, clairvoyant, clairsentient. There are so many clairs. And to me, in simple words, this means that they are allowing this psychic information, this information from spirit to come to them rather than using their logical brain. You know, to get information, you could use your brain and logic. But when you use your third eye, you use a different energy. And so, yes, the third eye is a way to pull the information from spirit, but it's also important to recognize that by the same token, it is leaving the logic aside because it's very important to not listen to your logic and your brain because the logic and the brain have a function. They're helping you with day-to-day practical things, how to remember things, how to apply logic, critical thinking. All those things are very important. But in order for the message from spirits to come, you have to pull aside the logic and the critical reasoning, because the critical reasoning and the logic might send you to an answer that is logical, but it's not the intuitive answer, because sometimes things cannot sound possible, cannot appear possible, but yet they do happen. So it's very important that opening to the third eye, opening to your sixth sense, is not only your ability to connect to spirit, it's also the ability to shut the mind down. It is basically a muscle. And so the way that I like to say, it's basically if you want to work your arm muscle, you go to a gym. And the gym will allow you to practice, 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 and your arm will get more muscle. It's the same thing with your third eye. You have to practice, practice, practice. So what are the different practices? You can do meditation. You can use hold the crystal, even a simple quartz. You can do automatic writing. You can practice. Let me show you here. I thought I had one. Yes, you can practice with a pendulum, using a pendulum to receive answers from your guides. You can see that I'm not moving my hand, the pendulum is turning. You can use cards, you can use visions, you can use guided meditation. So many different tools exist. They all have the same token of connecting with your sixth sense, your third eye chakra, or your guides, or directly to God. It's the same thing. Of course, we are going to a place where jobs which are already hard to find are becoming harder and harder to find. The big driver here, no surprise, is AI, the artificial intelligence. AI automates pretty much everyone's job unless this is a manual job. So you're gonna have a massive automation of tasks. If you go back to history, you see that in what we called more developed nations, or so-called developed nations, the jobs were outsourced to other countries with a lower cost. The phenomenon of outsourcing jobs is a very old concept. In the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, a lot of jobs for countries that were more advanced went to different countries in the world, a lot of them in Asia, for example. But now, AI is outsourcing the jobs from those jobs that were already outsourced. So we are creating a two-level down outsourcing of jobs. You understand the craziness of this. And so everyone will be impacted because if the task can be automated by AI, it will. Remember the change when we saw the internet. It's the same change, much bigger. It's an acceleration of that. So the impact of AI is massive, and we need to be ready to face the fact that we will interact with AI more than we will interact with humans. But I have to tie that back again to the planet because the use of AI is a massive, massive use of water, through the water needing to cool off the rooms with computers and servers. So it all ties back to the planet. The limit of the use of AI is going to be water.